you do back in Maryland? What do you do there?
Lawyer.
Oh, great. In what field?
Well, I do defense, criminal defense.
Criminal defense?
Uh-huh.
Oh, even better. And yourself, young lady?
I'm an English teacher.
An English teacher? Pardon me for bringing this up, but the school shootings?
Oh.
I've been doing some research on this, and obviously I'm a magnet for military and police. I had a police academy instructor that I interviewed last week. This guy was military intelligence for 10 years and then policeman. Usually when I talk to someone on the force, they kind of coy with their answers because they've got a job to protect their family and everything else, right? This guy was not coy at all. He was just coming out with, I was bringing up things about, police brutality and how they trained and, everything. We covered the spectrum. He was here for a half hour. But when I brought up the school shootings, he confirmed that a majority of them are false flag operations. They're setups. Some of the things he brought up that you look for because he's investigated. So once is, an incident, twice a coincidence, 3 times it's a pattern. But you will find in every one of these school shootings, the authorities knew the guy. Every one of them, the authorities knew. They had some record of it, following him, something. 2, they were on psychotropic drugs. 3, every one of them heard voices in their heads. This speaks to government mind control programs, things like MK Ultra, where they have patsies. Also involved in every one of these, there was a drill going on at the time of the shooting. So we got into how do police, when they find themselves in the middle of these things, can tell what's real and what isn't, and what keeps them from speaking out. And he says, well, you find yourself in the middle. They're going to tell you if you speak out, you've got a job, you've got children, you got a pension. You shut your mouth and go along with the program. So and why would they do this? I mean, why would they go out and either fake or kill children for real and blame it on someone else? What's behind that? Well, if you notice it on every one of these school shootings, they never focus on the police screwing up. They never focus on the drugs. They never focus on the fact that, these people are hearing voices in their heads. Who do they blame? Gun owners. People that weren't even there. So the focus is taken off of the people that should be put on. So, and I feel because
I agree, but I do believe though that I'm serious with the gun ownership though. We don't need assault. We don't need the type of weapons.
What's an assault weapon?
Well, we don't need rapid fire weapons.
There's already laws against that.
Right, but how do they get it though?
I'm telling you, there's already laws against it. How do they get them? The way criminals, you ought to know this as a criminal lawyer, the way criminals always get things through the black market.
Well, that young guy his guns were legal, right?
They were legal. So, yes, that's what I'm saying. It was the fault of the authorities. They were by his house 37 times. The FBI were aware of him and had a file on him a mile long. So they knew. How did he get the guns? They confiscated the guns, and they gave them back to his father, and his father gave them back to him.
Right. Do you think we should be allowed to any type of weapon we want?
Yes.
Access any type. Why?
Why should the government have more guns or better guns than us?
No, but why should we have it? Why? For what purpose?
To protect ourselves from a rogue government. That's what the Second Amendment was there for.
If you start on that premise, right, you're a militia, you have a war, we get our own government, then fine. But if you don't, then we don't need it. So if you start with your premise, then fine, your argument makes sense. I start with the premise, hopefully we won't be taking arms against the government, because I don't want the militia to replace it.
Well, Counselor, you understand that they made it the Second Amendment for a reason.
Yeah, but the Second
Because the
Amendment.
Second Amendment protects all the other
But
amendments.
keep in mind with the Second Amendment, though, back when that was passed, everybody needed
That's an
that
archaic
individual.
argument because
Right.
it's, again, exponentially as each one grows, we get what they
Well, so
have.
we're interpreting now the Second Amendment for today, right? But back when the amendment was passed, they weren't anticipating our times today. I get that.
Oh,
Back-
yes,
I
they
mean,
were. As a matter of fact, if you read the Founding Fathers, they were well aware of the advances
They wanted
that
each
come in.
states to be able to fight against the federal government. They were concerned with the federal
But
government.
it comes down as simple as this. I mean, not as simple as it gets.
Well,
People have a right to defend themselves, and why should criminals have the better weapons? Why should criminals
they don't have bazookas. They don't have what I'm just making.
They can if
you
they
said
want to,
any kind
but
of
you
weapon.
can
They don't
understand.
have-
We have agencies that keep track of those things.
They don't
And
have
who are the biggest
grenade launchers.
Who are the biggest weapon sellers in the world?
Who are the biggest weapon holders in the world? The average citizen.
Our government.
Yeah, well,
Our government
should have
supplies the world with ammunitions. We are the
Right,
biggest
right, we
arms
do.
sellers in the world.
Right, the government
And
does.
when you find out how much of it is indeed on the black market, because we have nuclear bombs that are missing.
Right.
I think everybody ought to walk around with a gun if they want one, concealed or otherwise. And the government has no right to go ahead and say otherwise, because it's been proven that in every place that allows concealed carry, the crime rate is way, way
See, I
down.
disagree with that. The numbers have increased, so like Florida, accidental shootings and stuff. I mean, that happens. Police don't even respond now.
I would love to go to court with you on this, and I would let you bring your statistics and my statistics, and I
talk
would
about
win.
numbers. You would win?
Because we could look up right now the FBI statistics, and it would prove you wrong. The
Let me say
FBI
this, though.
statistics.
The number of black people who get shot from these open carry guns states are up there. And that's my
Again,
problem.
I would prove you wrong. I would prove you wrong and show you that more
Instead
white
of
people have gotten shot than blacks by police.
But,
Well,
no, but
no,
if you look
because
at
of the hard numbers,
though,
yes, because
yeah,
you
they
make up the
outnumber
majority of the
us.
population.
Yeah.
But when you look at the percentage,
Yeah, but who commits the most crime?
yeah, see that you think it's black people commit most crime. That's not true. That's not true.
Then excuse me, but I would, again, we could look at the FBI statistics.
Of course, because that's the only people we're focusing on. If you only focus on a group and you police that group intensely, you'll catch everything they slip up. Not to mention,
Look,
they're
I'm
targeted. No, that's what
I'm just giving you the way it is, and not the way I would like it to be. But this is how it's been. The people, especially the black people, have been put in situations economically and otherwise, and corralled in situations, put in ghettos where they are not allowed the same opportunities. So they are forced into criminal activities.
Right, but police also have tremendous discretion. So for minor crimes, police decide whether to take you home or take you to the jail. And for white folks, they make a lot of times the decision is to take them home and drop them home, let them go. Whereas when a black person does the same thing, I represent people. I see my clients being treated differently. I have white clients and I have black clients, and I make the same arguments for certain stuff, and I know the judge, which one the judge is going to lock up. I mean, I do this. So I'm just saying, you get the discretion. Police have a ton of discretion. And a lot of times they exercise most of that discretion on people, Caucasians. They don't exercise that discretion on black kids and the same. And that's part of the problem. So who's coming through the system are the ones
But
who choose to pass that.
they're also black. We have a tremendous amount of black policemen.
They're the same too. They do it too. I'm not saying that just because, see, that's another thing. People assume because you're black, you're not mind-centered, because you figure most of the criminals are the black people, so you're harder on them, and that happens, and people don't realize it's true. As a black officer, you may also just give more
Being
consideration
conscious
to white.
of the bias and prejudices
and they're
of
right.
people.
And black officers do it.
Indeed, they do.
And the only reason we
and that's
see-
why it's a case-by-case basis. I run into,
I sit up in the jails in Prince George's County, which is a black county. All of a sudden, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, oh, wow, man, we got like 14 Caucasian people. What's going on? And it's more and more. And I said to Commissioner Officer, why are we having more white folks being locked? Guess what? The opioids. So they go crazy in the opioid crisis. So now they can't really look the other way because they're crazy.
That's another thing that powers
and that
of the
has now
yeah.
all of a sudden that is increasing because black folks are not into the opioids, but mostly Caucasians do the opioids, right? The meth and stuff. And they get too crazy to leave them alone, so they have to bring them in.
I wish we'd go after the pharmaceutical companies. Those are the biggest drug pushers in the world.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying though, the discretion piece, and I hear what you're saying, but because I've been in the trenches, and I've been in the trenches in white neighborhoods as well. I mean, doing this in upstate Albany, so I could see the distinction and I see the discretion the police give. And just because you're a black police officer doesn't mean you're going to favor.
Oh, no.
Because you're brainwashed. You know, you go into your police department when they do the morning roll calls. You know, and what they give them the focus on for the day. And they see it the same way too. They will see a black youth in their mind and see a white youth and figure, I'm going to go after the black
Well,
people.
would you agree, because of the scrutiny now that police forces get, I mean, they get, I think there ought to actually be more scrutiny in the sense of civilian.
Right, we get rid of the civilian review boards, because they don't want us reviewing it. Yeah, I mean, that's a big issue.
But because of a lot of scrutiny to get, it's one of the things I've been asking several policemen
We'd love to have some.
because they're being targeted too. I mean, this is a bad time to be a good cop. They're being shot while they're eating lunch.
Yeah, but if you look at the numbers, because I sent this to the CNN lady, that conservative, and she was saying, 2 cops got killed. And oh my God, police are being killed. And I just sent her. I said, can you tell me? Not even, it was a Fox person, not CNN, Fox. It was a Fox, one of those Fox conservatives. And I sent her a tweet and said, can you, just with numbers, can you tell me how many people, hard numbers, how many police officers killed, hard numbers, a year versus how many civilians? And I didn't even distinguish between how many civilians are killed by police officers. Didn't even distinguish between race or anything. Just the hard numbers, because I want to know. Because what it is when a police officer gets killed, we all in alarm, and it seems a lot because we blasted us. And I told her, I said, don't think I'm promoting.
It's happening so much now. I'm
not promoting violence against the police officers or whatever, but when you only focus on that piece, it seems like we're out to kill cops, which is,
Well, there are people that are posting on the internet to go out and kill cops, and there are people killing cops. We cannot take that away. And if we allow this, if you don't focus on it, and if we allow the police to get killed and make no big deal out of it, it makes it okay. Let's just have chaos everywhere.
This years ago, and here's the problem. And when the police, if you think, police, you make a situation bad for yourself. If you make citizen believe any encounter with a police officer becomes a life or death situation, guess what's going to happen? You're going to also get killed. In Europe, the police officers can walk around without guns because what? People know the police are paid, right? They're paid.
And London has now surpassed New York for violence.
They don't, but there's no gun violence because they know
the hell there ain't.
No, they don't.
The hell there ain't. I just read the article that gun violence is way up there. You cannot stop criminals from getting guns. The Islamic problem over there is off the charts, and those people do not care, and they have been sworn to go ahead and overtake Western society. Culture.
No, but I'm talking about how we have the typical criminal crimes of not religion, just crimes of property crimes and being robbed and all that. I'm just saying the encounters with police they're not walking with guns. Most of the bobbies don't have guns, and they stop their citizens. So.
They haven't stopped. The rapes are skyrocketing. They're actually trying to outlaw the carrying of knives now because there's so many knife attacks. So their violence has skyrocketed there. I mean, you kill somebody, you kill them with a knife or gun, they're still dead.
Yeah, but you know what? You could stand the chance of surviving a knife attack and a gun, right? If you shoot me.
You stand a better chance. But how are you going to prevent that other person? You can't stop it.
The guy who had the knife and was threatening folks, he was so crazy, and he was saying he was Al-Qaeda or whatever he was. He was threatening folks, but they got to do something.
By law, this is true. By law, if someone comes at you with an object that could be perceived as a deadly weapon, you have the right to use deadly force to stop them. So if someone comes at me with a knife and they're 20 feet away from me, I got a gun, I can shoot them. And that's the way it should be.
Now that is, in which state are you talking about? Any state? So you have a right to use the appropriate force to protect yourself. So from serious injury or from being killed.
Right.
The appropriate force. And if the appropriate force happens to be that, that's fine.
Well, I'm going to judge that, but if someone's coming at me with a drawn knife in attack position.
That's right. If you have a right to defend yourself, everybody would. I'm not saying you don't. I mean, you do, I get it. I'm not saying don't defend yourself. I'm just saying, though, that I think...
And again, it comes down to the equation. If you look at the statistics, all of the places that have concealed have lower crime rates. And one of the solutions that, of course, Trump brought up for getting rid of these school shootings, that I've asked...
the teachers.
I've asked maybe 50, if I've asked 10 teachers out here, is that the solution? And I would, about
said yes?
70% of
They
them,
say yes?
70% of them said yes.
Yes.
And why wouldn't, now,
I don't
correct
like
me if I'm
military
wrong here,
again.
but aren't some of the teachers ex-military or police?
Yeah.
Thank you. So wouldn't they be
Also, you have
responsible
some
enough?
hotheads, some teachers that I don't know that
Well, then you don't give it to them. You give to the ones you can use a screening process just like they use everywhere else. But if you had 3
No,
or
but you
4
wouldn't know.
teachers that were responsible,
If you're a teacher, you've made you've been screened. You've gotten through. Because
well, then,
theoretically, they won't
well,
get
that's
you.
not true too, because we have.
They haven't done the problem. I
We
know.
can go into a whole other problem, the
With
deal
the
about how the government has basically turned schools not into education systems as much as indoctrination.
Well, we did have a system of education a while back. This is a good conversation, but we
It
could be
is,
here
it
all
is.
day.
I
and
know.
I don't have
Thank
all
you
day.
very much. This is why I love to do this. That's why I'm out here. I love Thomas Jefferson says, you know, I think the common man can come up with the solutions to his problems better than any elitist could ever do. So that's why, you know, we're supposed to be, our word's supposed to go to our representatives. We're supposed to put the input in there. But they don't listen to us anymore.
Oh, no. Well,
Which
they
is,
call
you
it
know,
funny.
why we got to keep on showing up and going to their meetings and just doing everything we can to make sure that they know we're still here. We're not going to be taken for granted. Take that with you. That's about some stuff on 9/11 and false flags.
Well, you know, they were supposed to follow the money. They stopped following the money, right? I really believe that 9/11 was corporate generated.
Yeah.
Who profit from 9/11?
Thank you.
Lockheed Martin
That's
and all
the
of
question.
those.
See, you could be a good
And
lawyer.
they
You're
were
a good
following the
lawyer.
money, and they stopped following the money. Whatever happened to that? Remember?
I know. That's what I always say. I always ask, who benefited? Like, you know, in a crime, you always go, who benefited?
Yeah, they put the puts in and all that on the stock, and they stopped. They stopped following it, and what happened?
Thank you very
All
much.
right,
You're
what's
so
your name?
nice. My name is Michael DeBerry. It's Badass Uncle Sam. It's on the back of this Get Out of Jail Free card. I'm going to throw in a citizen's rule book. It's very good for your students. I think they'd like that. And are you familiar with InfoWars at all? Do you know about this? I highly recommend this as a news advocate.
Oh, okay.
This guy sells his own product, so he's not afraid to talk about things like 9/11, poison vaccines,
Yeah.
all these things that, you know, the commercial news networks tend to shy away from.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that guy that just got killed who works for the CDC and then he popped up missing and then they recently found him because he was telling people to not get the flu shots and he was
Yeah.
And they killed him because
yeah,
they're
well,
messing with the
they don't
money.
know who killed him, but they just found him. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like
Well, the drug
he went
companies-
missing while he started to kind of spread the truth, and then
Yes.
yeah, I remember that. I just saw that like last month or 2 months ago. But I have a question. Do a lot of women come up to you getting offended about this?
No. Most of them laugh about it, you know.
Okay.
Now, the few that do, I just say, well, if you're offended about this, please do not go on Bourbon Street.
Oh, that's
That's a good. Yeah.